Now finally, here's the part which will make you wish you'd stayed in the park. Sixth, I think government has an obligation to attempt, and I think Smith understood this better than any of us, to attempt to make certain that capitalism produces results that are believed by the great bulk of the body politic to be fair or just, and therefore sustainable in the long run. The trick is to accomplish this by recognizing, as von Mises did, that inequality of wealth and incomes is an essential feature of the market economy. Now, this is an area in which a few years ago I wouldn't have even tried to jump. But I have become so concerned about the survival of capitalism that I thought I better think it over. And I frankly don't think that we can sustain the system because of the effects of globalization, which in essence have introduced 1.3 billion low-paid workers into the international workforce at one end of the market, unskilled, while enhancing the value at the high end of the market. If you're a Goldman Sachs person, to pick a firm whose president said, "I do the work of God," modest, they're very modest. If you do a merger of two nice little breweries, you may be worth $1 million. If you do an international merger of a couple of billion-dollar breweries, you're worth perhaps $100 million. So globalization at the high end has increased rewards, and at the low end made it much, much tougher for workers. Adam Smith had a comment about this. He said, "No society can surely be flourishing and happy of which the far greater part of the members are poor and miserable. It is but equity, besides, that they who feed, clothe, and lodge the whole body of the people should have such a share of the produce of their own labor as to be themselves tolerably well fed, clothed, and lodged." I think that's true. I think there are terrific problems, policy problems in implementing this, but I do think the effort has to be made, and especially as we now approach a situation where we are going to have to decide how to allocate the pain of paying for Gordon Brown's splurge, or Barack Obama's splurge, or the comfortable living standard that Greece enjoyed, now to be financed by the Germans so that they continue to buy Mercedes. The self-interest is lurking there. I think that we have to consider whether or not all of the efforts to equalize incomes and wealth are abhorrent to us. Now, I think I should stop. I can offer still more support for everything I've said, and besides, I have the advantage of a ticket home. I'd just like to leave you with one thought. The business community is not going to fight the fight to preserve free and open markets. In fact, the business community has a big stake in regulated markets because they know how to handle them, and incumbents know that we'll add one more lawyer, it'll take care of one more regulation, and a small challenger can't do it. I once asked the CBI to give me, I had an argument with Gordon Brown about regulation. He said, "Okay, get me the 10 most offensive regulations to the business community and I'll get them repealed." That was a terrific idea. So I went to the CBI and I said, "What are the 10 most offensive regulations?" They couldn't come up with a list. Well, if you think about it, why should they? I mean, if you're a small guy trying to start a business, like I opened an office here, I want to tell you all the regulations that kept very big accounting firms in business were designed to stop me from doing that. So the only place where and the universities are now so dominated by left-wing thinking that they are not. So as I've told my friends in America, I think think tanks are going to have to carry the burden of fighting to preserve the market system, fighting to reform it, This isn't self-serving in any way because my income doesn't depend on think tanks. But I do think that they are going to have to be, in your country and mine, the intellectual source of the fight to preserve what it is Adam Smith taught us. I thank you very much for your attention, and I'm sorry I kept you out of the park on such a beautiful evening.